Well. Look who is back, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Barila Show podcast. I am your amazing host, Marco Barilla. Well, let's just, let it all out, get the cat out of the bag. Where the fuck have I been? Um, Good question. Um, so if I'm not mistaken, by the way, I just clicked record. No thought process at all what I'm gonna talk about. Just pure unfiltered thoughts, pun intended from my other podcast. My last video I've
Come
uploaded
again.
was oops, sorry about that. My last video was over 2 months ago, and I believe December. Not December, Jesus Christ, September was my last video uploaded. Um, what the hell has been happening since? Good question. A lot actually. Um, I really am trying to like find a proper way to express what my thought process and my idea of what's been happening the past 2 months. To put it best to best simply put it, um, is I don't know. It all kinda is a blink for me. It's mostly a mix of emotions. It's been mentally, it's not been the greatest 2 months. I've been kind of more depressed. Um, mentally it's been kind of hard. Some things in my life that right now that aren't the greatest. Obviously nothing too severe, like but I am just going through something, and it's just that's normal. It's seasonal depression. And I'm sure some of you guys are thinking, well, if you're going through this, why are you still doing other stuff like the Unfiltered podcast, streaming, and other stuff? I mean, in all honesty, it's more of a distraction. It's more of an outlet. So why are you neglecting this podcast while you're also doing your other podcast? And in all honesty, I'm kind of having an identity crisis with this podcast. It's weird, right? Because I started this podcast over 5 years ago, back in 2020, with the intentions of just telling my stories and doing shit on my own and, keeping up with, it was run by me, written by me, purely in my vision. And now that I'm doing the Unfiltered podcast with my good friend Troy, shout out to Troy, of course. I'm sure you're hopefully listening. Now that I'm doing that with somebody else, it's kind of opening up my thought process, and I have ideas and topics to bounce off somebody off of, instead of just doing this solo and having a friend on here and there. And it's different. Um, Obviously it's December, so we're wrapping up 2025, the debut year of the Unfiltered podcast, and overall it was a really good success. I think. Our highest viewed video on there is 188 views, which is a fucking amazing to see. And I do think 2026 is going to be a big year for the Unfiltered podcast. I have a couple ideas planned that I hopefully want to do. It's going to be hard to execute, but I think that if this does good, I think it could be the future of the content that I make with the podcast. Um, but now that it leaves with this, going back to what I was saying, it was kind of I'm having an identity crisis with this podcast. Um, Obviously, if you've been paying attention 2 months ago, um, I had the sole purpose of talking more about world events and more serious stuff, especially politics. And I was in a really weird headspace. August and September was very politically for me. I guess you can, obviously it's not really a word, but I was super into politics. I still kind of am now, but like towards the end of September, I realized that indulging in this rabbit hole and this stream of real world events, it's just fucking depressing. Like there's no sugarcoating it. There's no simply putting it. There's no putting a bow. Sugarcoating basically. Like I said, it is fucking depressing and it fucks you up mentally. I don't know how journalists and politicians and other people who consistently make updates about politics, it is no wonder that people are fucking miserable reporting the news because nothing ever fucking good happens in the news. And I was during like I said towards August all the way up until like mid November, I was in that rabbit hole of um indulging a lot in politics. Um, Obviously, I've made it my stance clear that I try to be not politically biased because, again, as a young American growing up in this country, I don't like our government. I don't trust our government. I don't trust our politicians. I think both Republicans and Democrats are fucking, liars and frauds, and I don't trust either of them. And I've made that very clear. But going down that content creating route with political stuff, it was not only hard mentally keeping up with stuff, but it goes into a lot of research. And that's why I had such a hard time with recording my first rebranded episode is I made and I explained it in the last episode that I made it was around the time where Jimmy Kimmel got suspended and his channel brought back and I wanted to talk about that, but I wanted to do I did like little cliff notes of information and I wrote it down and then from there I would just improvise what my thought process was. And I recorded it. It was like a 50-minute episode, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. And I uploaded and it was scheduled to be released Friday at 12. And then the next day I re-listened to it just to make sure everything was well and I just fucking hated the way it sounded. I felt like I was unready, unprepared, and it made me anxious that people were going to get mad at me and people were going to get, this and that. And I said, fuck it, no more. We're going to redo it. And obviously, you guys, I did it. I redid the episode and I re-uploaded it the next week. And, you know, overall, I think it was okay episode. I was a little sick at the time. I remember my nose being congested the entire time and I sounded like a fucking clown. Um, but after that, I just kind of just did like a deep, reflection upon what I was doing. And I just realized that if I go down this political route, I don't care. I'm not scared of the fact that people won't agree with me. I don't care if people agree with me. I want people to talk about and that stance is never going to change. I do think I don't regret my political decisions or my opinions when it comes to that. Like it's still fuck Trump all day every day. Fuck him. Don't like him. It's obvious people that don't know me. I just don't like the guy. It's simple as that. But going down that political route and rebranding this entire podcast into talking about more serious real world things, just wasn't me. You know what I mean? It's just a phase, in my opinion, and it's kind of weird to call it a phase, but it's kind of basically what it was. Because now, like, I'm not nearly as political as I was a few months ago. I've always been political. Many of my friends and family know my stances on my politics and my, my philosophy on things and certain topics and discussions. But I just think that it was a lot of more of a workload that I was not expecting. I wanted to have a podcast in in general to have fun and to just talk to good people and tell my stories because I've always been into talking about anything and anything. And you guys know this. If you guys have been following me for long enough, you guys know that. It's why I have two podcasts for fuck's sake. Um, but that's why I was scared and, I don't wanna say scared, but I was kinda anxious to do more stuff on this channel is 'cause I already committed so much into rebranding it into a more politically based podcast, and, like, now it's December, and I kinda regret doing that, and if on a wholeheartedly. I still will be talking about politics here and there, but, like, I just like I said, going down that content creator route of talking about politics, it's just a fucking miserable experience. And I've been told and over and over again that talking about politics is not it, and it's reason why it's one of the biggest dividers between family and friends when you guys talk about it, and it's very true. Um, Again, like I said, I don't care that if you don't agree with me or oh, you shouldn't have said that about this. It's my opinion. You're welcome to disagree with me, and if you want to talk about it, so be it. Um, but I was kind of like, scared about coming back and doing this, and now I feel like I kind of tainted this podcast a little bit. That's my perspective. I'm not gonna like, I already made a big deal about like, hey, I'm rebringing the podcast because I haven't before that last episode. It's been like what 10 months since I've uploaded a video. I think it was last January when the whole TikTok ban was happening. Is the last time I uploaded anything on the channel here. And I feel bad, and I generally do feel bad that I abandoned you guys. Because this is my first podcast. No, actually, this is my second podcast. OGs remember the lunch table. Um, but this is my first big thing. Obviously, after my original channel got deleted because my dumbass used my school email for that YouTube channel, which, by the way, out of all the channels I have, that is the only one that I've ever got 100 subscribers still a fucking crazy concept to me. Don't know how. Um, but those did good, and ever since then, have been dabbling in podcasts, which is another thing that I want to talk about too. Is that for somebody who has multiple podcasts and likes the idea of it, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to Distractible, which is Markiplier's podcast a little bit. I do Impulsive, Logan Paul's podcast. I tend to dabble in Joe Rogan stuff because it all depending on who the guest is. I don't really like Joe Rogan like that. Just like obviously, the most recent episode he did with John Cena, I watched a good half of that, obviously because I love John Cena. Um, but point in summary is that the past 2 months have been a little rough for me mentally. And it's normal. It's season. It's that obviously it's December and it's supposed to be the most magical time of the year and the most wonderful time of the year, as the song always quotes. Um, but it's just seasonal depression. And for a while, like after September ended, I was just emotionally drained. And it's also stuff in my outside personal life that I don't want to talk about that kind of was not the greatest. Work has been fucking awful. Um and it's not that's a whole different conversation that I'm not sure if I want to have. Um it's not the people that I work with. I enjoy a lot of my friends that I've made at work over the years. I've been there, but like the actual work itself has just overstayed its welcome in my head, and I just don't enjoy it anymore, and I don't want to do that. I had this brief conversation with a coworker at work the other day where I said I can't do this 9 to 5 shit for the rest of my life. I can't. I will work myself into an early grave. I genuinely do believe that. I think I'll be if I'm bad now mentally and being depressed and stressed and anxiety, I think it's just gonna be amplified to be worse. I generally do think that, and I don't want myself to do that. I don't want I know there's going to be stress, and I know there's gonna be things in life that are gonna get me emotionally and mentally drained, but I want there to be a counter to it, and if that makes any sense. From a very young age, I've made it obvious to again family and friends. I keep saying that because I tell them these things. My dream job is content creation. It is content creation and streaming and being paid to make content and playing video games and make friends and make content in general. Um, let's take a little drink of water. Damn, it's a little harder to do this by yourself. You don't have someone to talk to, but um, it's no surprise that this is my dream job, and I think this year, this 2025, and this is a question I'm going to ask a lot of my friends. I'm probably going to talk to Troy about it in the next episode of the Unfiltered podcast. Is that 2025 for me was a weird, unique year. It's another year that blew by. I vividly remember January, like I remember New Year's 2024, like it was a couple months ago, it feels like. And it's insane how like the concept of you getting older, the years go by faster. And I was never really believed that until now. I mean, for fuck's sake, I literally turned 21 in 5 months, which is an insane concept. 'Cause I remember turning 20 only a few months ago. It feels like it's a scary concept and a scary idea that like and that's why people, like you're saying, enjoy your 20s now. Because I'm already obviously, I turned 20 a couple months ago, last year, basically. I'm saying a couple months. I don't know. I'm fucking stupid. Don't please ignore me. Um, but I'm almost 21. Obviously, I'm very excited for that. But it's a very also scary thing that, like, holy shit, you're now entering your 20s. Like, what did you do your entire teenage life? And when I turned 20, I kind of went through a little mental, like midlife crisis, I want to say, because like I realized like I didn't spend my teenage years doing something that like I want to tell my kids about. I basically fucking video gamed, and I didn't go outside nearly as much as I wanted to. And going back, like I really do wish I had my teenage years to do more of that. Obviously, I wasn't a fucking outcast, and I stayed in my house, every single goddamn day. There were like months and days, years where that was the case, but I realized like, man, like that's why I love giving advice to the younger generations, especially like obviously younger children that when I'm a count for example, right? When I'm a counselor at both Noogie Land or Camp Kids or and Kesem, some of the best advice, and I always love giving out to the young generation, is that take your time. You're only your child. You're only a children once. You're only a child once. Um, you're never. I remember I've always wanted. I was wishing. And I was excited to be an adult. I get to do adult things. Have adult money. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Yes, and when in reality, yeah, that's true. You could, but you also realize the financial burden, the stress of keeping up with paying off bills, and this, and then like I I always thought the idea of being a child was like overrated. You know what I mean? I want to be taken seriously. You don't. And obviously, obviously, you guys don't need to listen because I think most of my audience by now are somewhat mature or my age or older. But going like this past year have made me reflect upon like it started off. The year started off pretty bad, right? The first like 3 months was really bad. I lost in the span of the 3 months. I've lost three family pets. Rest in peace to Phineas, Bella, and Carly. Um, and that was a really bad time. That was like a really rough time for the family and me, and it was just not in. It just wasn't it. It was another year where the summer carried. I will say the summer of 2025 was fucking really fun. It was really good. Um, like everything from doing Noogie Land for the 4 weeks. Shout out to Garrett and Emily and everybody there at Noogie Land, the counselors. I love you guys. Amazing. I love doing it every year. I'm gonna do it next summer. Um, doing working with the children that are obviously it could be an hassle, yes, but I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I do it for volunteer for free, no money indeed. And it's one of the greatest things that I could do, and I love doing it. And eventually, I'm gonna get a little older enough where I can't do it anymore, and that's gonna be a whole different conversation. But again, like I said, that's one of the things you got to deal with being an adult now. Um, and then for 4th of July, having my 4th of July Chipotle baseball game that I managed to pull off. Planning, shout out to Angela and Colin for helping me set that up. That was fucking fun as shit to do. Um, and then in August with Kasim, and obviously it's no surprise. I don't need to go too much into detail how much I love Kasim and how much it means to my childhood and it means to me as a person. I'm approaching my 3rd year as a counselor. I have 2 more years left until I'm too unk to come back as a counselor, which that'll be one of the most depressing summers, I think, and I'm not looking forward to that. Um, but that's the reality. And then after that is kind of where it went downhill a little bit. Oh, pardon me. That's not to say that like every fucking week and day of fucking September to November was horrible. But nothing really happened. Like nothing really in my life was. It was just kind of like null. It's like a filler episode basically is what I'm trying to get at. Um, with just me focusing on work, family matters, with my grandparents, and that's a whole different conversation. I'm not really want to get into, but it's there. Um, the workload at work has been getting not great. We have a new boss, a new GM who's not my GM, not Angela. Shout out to Angela, of course. We have a new field leader, which I'm not qualified to fucking tell you what a field leader is. I think it's like the boss's boss, basically, who's an absolute fucking stuck up pain in the ass, who is more strict with rules, and it's just not a pleasant work experience when that he's in there. Um, and just overall, like, I was feeling very, I don't want to be vulnerable, but I think I praise a lot about men's mental health, especially, but mental health in general. That for someone who claims to like always be open and available to talk to somebody and express your feelings, I really don't do that, and I want to work more upon that with you guys. If you're listening to this and struggling with mental health or just having a bad week, month, day, year, whatever, um, I was suffering with loneliness, honestly. And it's something that I think that it's just came out of nowhere. And again, it's the time. It's after Thanksgiving in the first couple weeks of December, and when it gets bad. Like right now, I'm still talking about it does hurt a little bit, but fuck it. That this is why I had this podcast to open up about whatever I want. It's my channel. I can do basically whatever I want, and we're allowed to get real every once in a while. Um, But like right now, like it's tough, and you just have to celebrate the little things in life. It really, it's just constant reminders. Like the way I look about 2025 is that pros and cons were about equal, honestly. But like I like to focus more on the cons, unfortunately, because it's the shit that changes you. Mm. Ugh, sorry. Um, but some of the pros I like to focus on. One being the Unfiltered podcast started back in. Technically, we recorded our first episode in December last year, but we didn't upload it until January of this year. Um, that is doing good. I mean, obviously, it's our debut year. We're not going to do amazing, stellar numbers, but right now on YouTube, we're looking at 14 subscribers, which is good. Views on the channel are doing pretty solid. Some of them are hit or miss, but that's the duality of a small channel. Um, but that is doing good. I really am proud of what me and Troy have been able to accomplish on there. I'm down 50 pounds weight wise. I started the year. Um, I have a I keep a track of my weight. I started recording my weight last December. Um, the heaviest I've been was like 340, and right now I'm like 295, 293, which is insane because I never thought in a while that I'll be under 300 pounds, and it's fucking amazing. And I'm hopefully going to be even more in 2026. Um, another year where I'm alive. Simple as that. Simply put it, it's another year where I am alive. And it's something that more people need to realize. It's like I said before. It's the small things that you need to keep in mind with certain topics and things. Um, but yeah, that's basically what's been happening the past 2 months. It's more of like a mental thing that I needed to have a better hiatus. And I'm very sorry that I kind of to simply put it, like, abandoned this podcast. What but what I plan to do in 2026, I don't know. You know what I mean? And I hate that's one of the things that I'm starting to struggle with Unfiltered podcast is that for me, for some reason, it bothers me that we don't talk about specifically one thing. There's true crime podcast, there's like a historic podcast, there's guest based podcast, which is technically what this and the Unfiltered podcast is. But I don't know what I'm gonna do. I really don't. I don't want to promise you guys weekly uploads on this podcast because it's already, I want to say, like a hassle, but it's already a good amount of homework to do with the Unfiltered podcast, and we're having to worry about the script, or not the script, like the outline for the Unfiltered podcast, and then a day later I have to start working on the Barilla Show. Um, and I'm keeping it a buck. I'm keeping it honest with you. This is kind of like for those of you guys who watch YouTube, if especially like bigger content creators, they have um their alt account, their alt channel. Like, for example, is like Tim the Tatman. He does let's plays and videos on his first channel, then he has Tim the Tatman 2 where he does other stuff. That's kind of like what I'm thinking about with the podcast. The Unfiltered podcast is my main priority and focus. That is something that I get to work with somebody, which why I think is another reason. That's why, like, no disrespect to my boy Nico. That was a failed attempt to make him a co-host here. I just kind of wanted to do it with him because he's my best friend, and I wanted to do it with him, but he really wasn't into it, and I respect. I respect it, of course. It's his, his prerogative if he doesn't want to do it, and I respect it, of course. Um, but this will kind of be in the back burner. If I'm being honest with you, like I don't. I'm gonna, like I said, I want to talk about politics from here and there, and I have in the past before I rebranded this to the Barilla Show, and I think that mentally I'm not equipped to talk about politics like that. Like it's still, and I still encourage people though. However, I still encourage people to every once in a while tap into what's happening in the real world because I think diving into something that you don't want to ignore what's happening, but you also want to be aware. You know what I mean? Because like I think digging yourself into a different reality that you're not in is dangerous. Like diving headfirst into your work to keep you distracted, diving headfirst into, what's unfortunately some people drugs and alcohol. Like that's not the solution. You have to face your problems, just like you have to face what's going on in the world sometimes. You know, It's simple as that. Now that most of us are adults now, mommy and dad are not going to sugarcoat it for you. They're going to tell you like how it is, just like how the world and the news and events are going to tell you how it like it is. It's a fucked up world we're living. It's a very scary time period in this country and in general. Like nothing that again, I think that's another reason why I kind of stopped talking about politics is that not only was it damaging to my mental health, but like I said, like I want to kind of like briefly elaborate what I was trying to say, where I wasn't mentally equipped to talk about it because the amount of stuff in the world of politics that happens changes daily. Like again, I like to upload every Friday, and I usually record an episode a day or two in advance. So like if I'm having an episode loading on Friday, I like to record on Wednesday or Thursday. And by the time I upload that and I edited that and it's ready to be uploaded, something big breaks, and I want to talk about that because that's going to stay in the loop. It is a very dangerous game to play. Again, I'm not scared of people with people that are offended by my political opinions. People shouldn't be afraid about that. But you just have to be really careful on where you get your sources and how you word it. Because I don't want to sound like an arrogant asshole and say "fuck you" for voting for him, vote for you for voting for her, them, that I don't care. I just wasn't. I think I'm just emotionally and mentally not professional enough to talk more into greater detail about that. You guys should watch other people um that when it comes to that. Um and I think that's why I dove in headfirst way too quickly when it come to attempting to rebrand this podcast into that. Um Basically that's what it is. And again, I said before, I do feel bad. I'm probably gonna upload this tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Monday. Um, Sorry. Oh, my dad texted me I'm too loud. See, another good reason right there. um, my dad texted me I'm too loud. Shocker. I'm recording this at 1:30 in the morning, by the way. Um, but that's kind of where I'm at. Mentally not amazing right now, but I've been worse. I've been better. I'm just in a little bit of a low time, which is unfortunate, and it's another reason why I'm not a huge fan of the holiday season anymore. Is because I don't feel the magic that most people feel right now, and I think it's just the whole. I think it's just a whole overall theme with people my age because we're exiting childhood, we're exiting the honeymoon of being a child, and we're entering the early stages of adulthood with college and jobs, and it's fucking miserable. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys how fucking miserable a job could be because most of you guys are old enough to understand. That's why I think that when people know what they want to do at around age 16. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a lawyer, a surgeon, whatever. I didn't know what I wanted to do. For the longest time, I wanted to be. I had multiple different dream jobs. I've talked about this a couple months ago on the Unfiltered podcast, where I wanted to be an astronaut, of course, because space is cool. Um, I wanted to be a professional wrestler for the WWE. Um, but again, physically, I don't think I could do that. Obviously, I couldn't, do a crazy body transformation and lock it in, but I don't think that will be in my cards. Um, there was a brief period when I wanted to become an actor, but that's just a whole different ball game. But the one dream job and the one thing that has never changed, and still to this day I want to do is, like I said before, content creation, YouTube. Um, and that's why I think in 2026 I'm genuinely going to lock it in. That is my New Year's ultimatum. I want to lock the fuck in like I've never have and start learning and making connections with people who can learn how to edit so I can do it for my stuff and I can start. I've always said I have the humor, I have the gaming capabilities, I have the charisma, and I have the character. I just need help someone to help execute it in a way that I like when it comes to editing and content. Um, I do think within the next 3 to 5 years, I will be successful. And I want that mindset for you guys as well. And I want that mindset for me. Because I can't I'm being so for real. Call me a bitch. Call me because I'm a new gen. You're fucking soft. I don't think this 9 to 5 shit's for me, and I really it's a scary concept because that is what the world is coming to, and it's always been. It's not coming to, it's always been the 9 to 5. You do your 10, 20 years of school, and then for the rest of your fucking life until you retire, hopefully when you're 70, if you're lucky, depending on I don't know when the proper age to retire, and then you live out the rest of your life being an old man, hopefully with somebody you love. Um, and I don't want that life in me. I want my life to be special. I want my life if there was to, if my life was going to be an autobiography, a biography book, or a movie, I want my life to be entertaining. I want people to listen to my story about, like, man, that fucking person lived a dope ass life. I want to take his life lessons and I want to take his experiences from my life. Um, and being a doing that 9 to 5 shit's not entertaining. It's not. It's not. That's why I think another good reason why I loved doing content creation is because I could just you get to see people's reactions for the first time. The whole idea of like people bitching about like, oh, why would you watch someone play a video game when you can play the video game themselves? Okay, why watch football when you can go play it outside? Why watch, why watch a musical when you can sing or listen to the music? You know what I mean? Like you get the point. Um, and obviously it feels weird talking about it in like a much more serious toned video like this, and I'm sorry for being more serious, but fuck it, I mean, it's the truth. It's the reason why I have not been doing anything on this podcast. Um, One of the biggest things to happen within the two months that I've been gone is my gaming channel. Um, when I say content creation, I primarily mean gaming because that was my first love before podcasting. And, obviously with I tried doing that with Ace. I don't I mean, to be so honest with you, it's been so long since my G-Man YouTube account or my other one that I don't really remember what I posted on that account. I don't think I posted any video games because I didn't know about OBS or the recording software that I needed, but it still somehow got me 100 subscribers. Um, but my first love for YouTube and content creation was video gaming, and over the past 2 months, I found my love for it again, all thanks to this game called Dispatch. It sounds corny as shit to say that a game saved my life, but it genuinely that game came out at such the right time because not only and I say this, and if you guys have not watched it, please go do watch the YouTube series. I'll leave that in the link in the description for you guys to go watch if you guys are bored. Um, but that game can and I said it in, the season finale when I went to do, like, a little miniature review, but I said that this game came out at the perfect time, and I genuinely do mean it, because not only did it came out at a good time for me because after exiting that political phase, I was so fucking empty, I was so disappointed in myself, and I was so depressed, and I was super, like, not there, and then this game came out that kept me busy, um and it kept me looking forward to doing something every week. So the way, if you guys don't know what it is, it's a episodic based game where you get to pick your line of dialogue. Your choices matter. Um, Unfortunately, most of my audience are old heads, respectfully so. Nothing wrong with that. But it's basically a pick your own adventure video game, but it's in the shape and the look of a TV show. You're basically playing a TV show, which is a cool concept. But point is, this game came released 2 episodes every Wednesday, and that what kept me motivated. That not only kept me, like, for the first time in such a long time, I looked forward to something, and I was so drawn into these characters and their world. I wanted to I wish I was in their world because I fell in love with these characters in such a short amount of time that it made me look forward to something, and obviously, once the game ended, it ended in, like, November I wanna say November 15th, I think the game ended. The season finale came out. Um, After the game ended, I just fucking was so depressed because and I'm still I am bummed out that the game is over, but I'm so fucking grateful for the game because not only did it help me mentally and made me look forward to something, but it reignited my passion and love for video games and content creating and doing stuff because before then, I would just upload videos for the sake of doing videos, and that's not the right mentality you want to do when you're, in the content creation business, I guess. But I was genuinely proud of what I was posting, especially TikTok, where TikTok, I've tried to do the TikTok thing. It's just not for me really, but me doing dispatch content on TikTok really blew up my shit, honestly. Hold on, sorry. Mm, sorry. Um, but I made my first dispatch related TikTok back in November 2nd. And that first video I uploaded had 61 likes, 17 comments, 816 views, which I think as of right now, at the time of recording, is my most liked TikTok, which is awesome. And then 331 views, and then 240, 666. Wow, that's a funky number. Point is, I got a lot of views, and I was genuinely proud of the feedback I'm getting. Even like on Twitter, where like I know Twitter's a cesspool of fucking shit. Obviously, no surprise. But I'm on the good side of Twitter, where all my shit is focused on the game, and I'm going to. I'm learning, meeting new people in the community, and it's keep me distracted. Again, I think more people out there need to find something that distracts them, but also is a constant reminder that life is going to be okay. You have people to talk to no matter what. Um, but this game came out and it reignited my love for YouTube, and it reignited my love for, now that I get to see myself. I didn't do face cam on I didn't show my face on the video until the very last episode, which I kind of do regret not doing for the rest of it. But I love the way that last episode came out because I get to sorry. But not only that I get to see my reactions for the first time, but I get to see, basically that's what it is. I get now it is now sketched into my YouTube channel and immortalized forever that I get to see my reactions for the first time of arguably one of my favorite games this year. And it's so dope that's what that's what it boils down to. I love seeing people's reactions. And now I get to deal with me. I get to record my reactions. I get to see remember when that happened? Yeah, let me show you my reaction to it. That's a cool concept, and I love that. Um, and in 2026, I'm gonna start to lock the fuck in and doing more streaming and more content. I want to do more solo games, let's plays. Obviously, I was focused on Fortnite and Five Nights at Freddy's for a good while, but like there's other games that I want to experience. You know what I mean? There's other stuff that I want to do that's focused on me, that what I want to do, and I want to be happy with the content that I produce. And that is also what's happening with this podcast. I wasn't happy with the content that I've been making on this podcast, and I do apologize for that. That's why in 2026, I'm going to try and do more of a soul search of what I want to do with this podcast. Because I have ideas for both the Unfiltered podcast and my Ace Gaming channel, which I'm gonna leave links to both to in the comments down below. So go follow that. But now it's time to find out what I'm gonna do with this podcast. This is my first like real attempt on doing a podcast, and for a while I had success with it, and I want that success to be here. And that's one of the first things I said about with last episode is that I'm still gonna do both podcasts. Um, Obviously one of the podcasts is better than the other. Um, but I'm keeping it real with you. I'm being honest with you. Like I genuinely am going to try to find to do something with this podcast. And because I genuinely do love you guys and I appreciate the people that do watch it all the way through the end. Um, and I do greatly appreciate it. But that's why overall, my overarching message and my message that I want to leave to you guys, the viewers at home, is one, focus on your mental health. Mental health is one of the most important fucking things. And, it's something that a lot of people don't, brush off. It's a lot of things that people, like, oh, it's whatever. I'll worry about that later. I don't have time to be mad or sad. Don't brush it off because it's going to bite you. The more shit you store, the more, hurtful it's going to get when you do, leash it out and unleash it. Um, Focus on your mental health. Two, find something that makes you happy. Something as simple as playing video games, listening to music, going for walks, even though it's the cold time of the year. Um, and three, talk to somebody. Talk to anybody. Be vulnerable with somebody, even if it's somebody, even if it's your parents. I'm gonna try to do something better. I'm gonna be hopefully mentally better this next 2026. I really do. And now that I'm older and hopefully, I'm mentally and emotionally, mature enough to do it, I'm gonna hopefully succeed in that. And I want you guys to do that. I want you guys to be the happiest you that you can be. Do something different. You know what I mean? That's why, like, I think if I play my cards right and I do the right things and I genuinely do put my heart and effort into my passion of content creation, I think I could genuinely be a successful YouTuber. And I hope I look back in this in, like I said, 3 to 5 years, and I'm like, man, that is where it started. This is the exact same part of the year where I locked the fuck in and now I'm happy where I am. I want to be happy. I want to achieve. I want success. And I want to feel good about myself. And I want you guys to find your content creation. I want you guys to find that thing in your life that makes happy and proud of yourself. And I really do want that for everybody. That's what everybody wants, obviously, of course. But that's what I'm getting at. That's what I've been up to. It's not been an amazing 2 months, but it also has been a rejuvenating 2 months. And then it's kind of a weird thing to say. It's been up and down, but I am glad. One of the things is that I'm starting to live stream again, which is something that I haven't done in a while. Um, hmm, damn, I'm pounding through this water bottle. Um, I started to live stream again, which I'm gonna start doing a lot more when I have spare time. Um, Obviously, when I attempted a live streaming gig, 4 or 5 years ago, it was kind of easier to plan out because I had school and no job. But now with a job and I work some days better than others, it's kind of hard to predict what my streaming schedule is going to be. Um, at the time of recording this, it is already Monday the 8th. I plan on going live later today, I guess. It's kind of weird just saying tomorrow because tomorrow's the 9th. But I do plan on going live on Twitch to stream my next YouTube series, which I'm gonna keep it a surprise for now because I'm not sure when I'll upload this. Um, I'll leave my Twitch in the link down in the description if you guys want to check me out. I play games, I talk, all that good stuff will be there. Um, I've already technically planned out my next episode of the Barila Show podcast. I want to do a I haven't confirmed it with them, but I want to do a full game review of Dispatch. And I want you guys to, I want you guys to, hear my thoughts and, my praises, my pros and cons. I want to do it with my good friend Garrett, who I'm not sure if I've had him on the Barilla Show podcast. Pardon me. Let me double check. I don't think big announcement. We got some cooking. No, yeah, no. I don't have. I never had Garrett on the the Brilla Show podcast, but I've had him on the unfiltered podcast, and I'm gonna have my good friend Emily, who has been on the Brilla Show podcast. Because I got both of them. I got both Garrett and Emily into Dispatch, and they both love it as much as I do, which is amazing. And I want to have them on the podcast and just talk Dispatch, our theories, our takes, our predictions. And if that's not something that you're into, by all means, you don't have to watch. But it's something that I'm gonna be proud of recording, and it's something that I'm gonna be happy that I did because again, it's December. The game ended a month ago, and I needed like COVID because the thought of the game being over makes me sad. Um, but I am optimistic about the future of the game, which I'll get more into in the next episode. So thank you guys so much for listening to me rant and do my thing. Sorry it was more of like a Debbie Downer episode, but again, I think it's okay to be vulnerable to people, even if you don't know them. Obviously, there's bad strangers and there's good strangers, but the way I look at it is that they're only strangers until you become friends with them, or vice versa. Once you start off as strangers, think about it. Your best friend was a stranger at one point, and then you got to get close to them, and then now you're their best friend. It's a cool concept, I know. But thank you guys so much for listening. I'm probably gonna upload this later today. It's currently 2 in the morning. Like it's 1:52 right now. Um, but I am going to make a new episode on Friday. And from there, I'm not again. I can't promise you guys a consistent schedule I'm gonna try. I think here's what I'm gonna do. Right, pretty bold. I'm going to take the rest after this next episode of the Barila Show on Friday. I'm gonna take the rest of 2025 off, spending the holidays with my family. I'm still gonna be doing the Unfiltered podcast for the rest of the year, and I'm going to do some soul searching. I'm going to take a mentally deep dive into myself and what I want this podcast to be. So that's what I'm going to do. So look out for this episode. Look out for on Friday for the Dispatch game review. And again, do what I say. Focus on yourself. Focus on your mental health. Be the best you can be. I'm going to try to make me the best me I can be. Thank you guys so very much for listening, and I hope you guys are doing okay mentally. And I hope you guys are doing really well, and I hope that you're having a better holiday season than I am. But I'm working on it, and I hope you guys are doing everything okay. So, if you guys end up enjoying it and you guys want to see what 2026 looks like for the Real Show podcast, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. It is completely free to do so. And go follow the social medias, the Twitch, the YouTube, all that good stuff will be in the link down in the description if you guys want to check me out. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next episode. I love you guys. Peace.